Sure, it's testing. Okay, good. All right, here's my nifty little script. I'm going to be walking you through this, or I'm Ryan. You're Molly. I'm going to be walking you through the session today. Before we begin, I have some info and a couple of quick questions for you. I'm going to read it out loud to make sure I cover everything. We're asking you to try using an application that we've been working on so we can see whether it works as intended. Round 2. Session should probably last 40 minutes, something like that. First thing I want to make clear right away is that we're testing the app. We're not testing you, so you can't do anything wrong here. And don't worry that you're going to hurt our feelings because we're doing this to improve the site or the app. We need to hear your honest reactions, the good, the bad, and especially the ugly. So if something doesn't make sense, I want to hear about it. And as you use the app, I'm going to ask you as much as you possibly can to try and think out loud, to say what you're looking at, what you're trying to do, and what you're thinking, and that'll be a big help to us. If you have any questions as we go along, feel free to ask them. I may not be able to answer them right away since we're interested in how people do when they don't have somebody sitting next to them to help.
Okay.
But if you still have questions at the end, I'll try to answer all of them. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have a serious look there. You may have noticed the camera pointing at the iPhone. With your permission, we're going to record what happens on the screen and capture the conversation. Recording will not be posted online. It will only be viewed by a few people, filmmakers over there, who are actually working on the app. And if you would, I'm going to, sorry, you already signed it. Never mind. We'll cross that part out. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. And then last question, I already know this. You did like event coordination and something to do with movies.
Wardrobe. Wardrobe
That's
department.
what it was. Okay. All right. So now we can start.
Okay.
So now this would be right after you just downloaded the app.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be the pre-onboard pages.
Okay.
So what would you do?
Join us. Log in.
Okay.
One or the other. On this one, I guess join.
And these fields, none of these are actually like inputtable.
Okay.
So you can pretend like you put in your email, your password, everything, and then
so I can go right to join.
You can go right to join.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this would be splash screen, so you can just tap on this one.
Okay. I am obviously I'm doing it as I'm a patient.
Yep. And so some of these things they're not tappable immediately, but I want to see what you would tap on. So like I'm just going to show you. So if I tap here, you see that lights up. So it's sort of a hint that that's the thing you're supposed to tap on. But we do want you to kind of walk through.
Oh.
So I'm just letting you know.
Okay. Well,
that
would be the first
happen
one,
would be that would like highlight and change color when you tap on it. So
okay.
That's what will happen in the app eventually.
Okay. So, because it's not doing that, do I go right to next?
Yeah.
Okay. Rest. No, I had this cancer. Well, okay. That's the best that fits. Surgery is an option for treatment. Yes. So, I guess I've had it twice, so I'm thinking of my first time or second time? Both? Either?
Sure.
Okay. Yes. No. I'm assuming they mean hormone treatment as in meds.
Yeah.
Those- Okay.
As in meds or like tamoxifen, that sort of thing.
Your current location. Okay. Am I eligible for surgery? Even, I mean, I've had the surgery already. Okay, so, all right.
So I'll just give you a quick explanation of this. This is a new feature that we're thinking about.
Okay.
What we noticed last time in testing was that some people didn't answer questions or didn't know the answers to questions. So we were thinking about banking those questions in a place where you go and ask your doctor those questions, or where they would all dump into, like if you said you're unsure of something, just having like a little slide out panel. So that's not active yet.
I see.
But we wanted to get feedback from, because a lot of times the questions get overlooked, or you blast through them and you might not answer them. You don't have a full profile, right, or a complete profile, so to speak. So the information that we're presenting you is supposed to be based on answering all the questions.
Okay.
So we're trying to put kind of a call to action to finish those questions. Talk to your doctor, keeping them banked right there where they're viewable, but that's not clickable yet.
Okay. So the only one that is the top, just the yes or no.
No, that actually isn't, but everything else down here is.
Oh, got it. I see what you're saying. Huh. Can you add questions to it later too?
Yes.
And type in your own?
Yes.
Okay. Only by typing, not by voice? Like, can you say a question to it and it'll record it?
We're going to work on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that was some of the feedback. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Because I believe your feedback last time was that you had neuropathy of your optic nerves, and you had issues tapping things with your fingers because of the.
Yeah, it was more on my feet, but it was more that, in the moment when you're talking to somebody, it's easier to just go like this and record than like, oh, hold on, doc. That's, I don't know, for me, and you're so emotional in the moment that it's not as realistic. I think it's easier and it flows to be able to just say something and have it recorded than actually look down and disengage from the doctor and do this. That's just me. Oh, so this right now, if I tap on this, that would like read that to you, or is that what that audio thing is there, or no?
What do you think?
I would think that's what it is, maybe. It might just say it to you, and there's probably a way to mute it if you're done listening to it. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so then if you're done with that, go in there.
We were thinking about doing video, but the video is going to be. Actually, the only thing that's active right now. Right there for a moment to take you back.
Okay.
But I want to ask you one question. What do you think about the length of this page?
Right here?
Yeah.
Well,
The
without
font
reading
size and stuff like that.
well, the size works for me. I don't wear reading glasses yet, though. A lot of people I know would be like, well, let me get my reading glasses. But without even reading it and just scrolling it quickly, it seems long.
Okay.
And I'm guessing, because I guess I would consider myself a little more than. Anyway, when people I know have gone to the doctor, by this point, if I'm already diagnosed, I probably know the general information. Because by the time you've gone in, you've already looked up the basics. So maybe this is more that it's, if it was going to be shorter, it would be more specific. But when it just looks long, but it probably, maybe it reads much faster. I don't know. Now I don't know what I did. Okay.
Okay. Good feedback.
Okay.
What else would you be interested in
Um,
learning or clicking on? Tapping.
so what's the photo? What would it be?
That would be a photo that's related to that article.
Okay. Probably right in the, and again, this is like I'm at home alone. Am I in the doctor's office in this moment? This is anywhere. I'm just anywhere. Maybe the knowledge library before jumping into like trials. Because you don't always know until you talk to your doctor if you're even eligible for one yet. So I think out of these three, I would first go into the library. I don't know what about the photos. It depends. And then probably evidence-based treatment, clinical last, I guess. If I was going to rate those in that order.
Okay.
And would the photos be of like before and after, or just different?
These would be all various articles. So you'd have an article on metastatic cancer. These are just placeholder images. So it would be a photo that's related to whatever that content is.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So in one, it might be a microscope if it was talking about.
And those photos are generated from?
Who writes the articles?
Okay.
So it could be like NCI or American Cancer Institute.
Okay. Because when it's very helpful as they show you women, in different stages of, she had radiation, or this person had reconstruction, this person didn't have reconstruction. So they're just, personal photos the doctors have of other patients.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that was to me one of the most helpful, maybe as opposed to, myths or, and if you don't have metastatic, obviously you would skip that. There's a lot of people, believe, get on this and go through every single sentence, and other people say, don't even get online, you're going to be overwhelmed, and you're going to read a bunch of stuff that'll freak you out. So I think depending on where I was at with the diagnosis, now I would read it because I'm not in it. But when you first are diagnosed, sometimes you're like, oh, step away from the internet just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot out there.
I think what we're trying to do with the app is kind of get the information from the most trusted sources, as opposed to Dr. Google, where there's everybody and their brother's monkey's uncle is an expert and giving you their 2 cents and opinions. We're trying to distill it down to evidence-based medicine and really credible, reliable sources. The trick with that, though, and what I would love to get your feedback on is a couple of the articles. Just read a little bit of them and tell me what you think in terms of are they too jargony? Are they too scientific or anything like that? Just what's your opinion?
It's just like the questions to ask your doctor. Read it, any of them, or
These are
more?
Dummy. They're all dummies. So it's just basically there's one article behind all of these, and yeah.
Well, funny. I guess just right off the bat, reading this first one, breast cancer is cancer that develops from breast tissue, that one. None of that, I read it and go, well, except in my case, because none of that is what happened. Mine was cellular.
Okay.
So it doesn't say anything about that,
Okay.
you know, so, and those are all the very common, most people, a lump and all that, but mine would have never manifested into a lump. So, because they were cellular. Yeah. Oh, I like, this is good that they say 18 other subtypes of breast cancer, because a lot of people don't even think that. When you say, oh, I have breast cancer, they think there's one. A lot of people still do, oddly enough. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty, what I've read, pretty straightforward. It doesn't sound, you know, I know what you mean when you say jargony or like, oh, I gotta have a dictionary to look up 10 other things. It's very straightforward.
Okay. I'll have you look at another one in the evidence-based treatments as well, just to see how that one compares.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yep.
Evidence. For you. Technically not, I guess. I think those are right. I did this last time. I feel like I needed to review my chart before because, I mean, the first one was 12 years ago. So,
How's the font size on this page?
again, I can read it. It is a little small because you're also used to reading the bigger, and so it feels much smaller than it I think really is because it's been larger the whole time. So
I did it on purpose just to get a litmus, like what's the right size.
Yeah, I think this is a tad small.
And how is this article in terms of jargon?
I think it seems no, it's pretty much everything I read or heard about tamoxifen in the past. Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be overwhelming before you go further along in your experience? Like at the beginning? Would it be too jarring?
No, I mean, not because tamoxifen is such a, it's one of the first things, I guess, everybody brings up, like, oh, you got to take tamoxifen. So I was prior to very well versed on it, but I think I wouldn't have. I mean, the first time I guess I would have been a little overwhelmed because even when he first mentioned it, I was like, and then I went home and read more about it, not in the moment. So yeah, I didn't want to go right into talking about meds afterwards. And I guess looking at all this like dizziness and nausea, I would have been like, all right, I don't want to talk about the meds. I want to just, let's focus on the surgery and,
Okay.
like later, I'd want to think about that.
What was the order for you in your experience? Because that's one of the things I'm, trying to refine and looking at the original app and the questions that are in this app. What was the order of your treatment?
Lots of biopsies after after the first mammogram. Was like, oh, there's something there that we should look at, and then another mammogram, then biopsy, then surgery, then chemo, and then that was it. I mean, in between there was a lot of like ultrasounds, more
Okay.
MRIs.
And from like start to finish, like when you were
first told,
like what the first symptoms were that drove you to get the checkup, then the checkup between that and the diagnosis. What were those times?
Well, the first time I had cancer, there wasn't anything that I had no symptoms. I just, my OBGYN does one mammogram before 40, just to have a baseline. She calls it a baseline mammogram. So you have one between 35 and 40. So when you turn 40, because you're supposed to start them at 40, now some people are saying 50, and it's a whole thing now.
Mm-hmm.
But back then it was, everyone starts at 40. So I had one prior to that, and that's when they saw something they called suspicious. So I felt fine. I had no symptoms. And it was there, give or take, about 2 years prior to me finding it. So it never, at that point, was still not, there was no lump. It was cellular, so you couldn't feel it. And then diagnosed. And the second time they found it, because I get MRIs once a year, ever since the first cancer. That was the only way to really effectively test me, not mammograms. So they found, again, something else the second time, like, this doesn't look good. And it was cancer in the other breast, 10 years apart. So pretty much once it was found, it was like, okay, let's start moving on this.
Okay.
Both times was about a month. Once, like, you have cancer, within a month, I was in surgery the first time. And then this time, I had all the biopsies, November, lots of tests, and I had surgery in December. So about a month to 6 weeks each time.
Okay.
After being told. So prior to that was a lot of tests to get to that point, biopsies and things.
Okay.
Ultrasounds, MRIs, but basically once I was diagnosed, yes, you have cancer, then it was 30 days. Then it was about a month each time.
Okay. So you think, like, from the first diagnosis, or from the first visit where it's suspicious to the diagnosis, an app like this would have helped you?
The first time, perhaps. The second time more so, I think, to look more things up.
Okay.
But the first time, I was, you're just so freaked out that I'm not sure. My first thought, it was more, in person, and I
Mhm.
had that doctor for a lot of years, so it wasn't like I felt really connected to her, so it was easier to navigate what I wanted to do next. Whereas this time, the second time, it is more like textbooky. What am I going to do? There's not any surprises. You know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And so then you want to like look up a different way to do it or dig deeper. Instead of the first time, you're just relying on a lot of support and help, and you're, what am I doing? So I don't know I would have gotten on an app because that felt more me and just individual and alone with it. Whereas this time, I took more control of it, and I was older, and I think I just, not like, oh, here it is again. You're not blasé, but it's more clinical this time instead of emotional.
Gotcha.
Because it's like the first time anything happens to you, you don't know how awful a divorce is till you have one, or whatever you're going through. So I think this time, although it was awful, I did want to use other sources this time instead of just so overwhelmed, I think, the first time. So I think it would have helped me more so this second time going through it. And then maybe there's a way to link all that information from my first cancer and download it in there, so when I'm looking up things, I can compare it. You know what I mean? It sounds weird, but to have it all right here instead of all the paperwork and the files and the note here and note there, it'd be handy now to just put all that information from my first cancer
Yes.
in one place. So then now, when did I have my surgery 10 years ago? I woke up with reconstruction. This time I had to wait and do it 6 months later. So there's a lot that's changed from my first experience to my second experience, financial, just everything. So it would be great to have all that, like how much was tamoxifen 10 years ago? What was my insurance? What did I get covered and why I didn't get covered this time? Just to know and navigate all that. I don't know if there's a way to put history in there.
We've got a couple products,
Okay.
different apps and things like that. And one of them is medical record type. And eventually we're going to hopefully connect all of them together.
Like the
So-
finances,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's even in there as well. So it's like connecting doctors so that your doctor could talk to a doctor on the East Coast who might have more expertise
Right.
in this type of cancer or studied it longer or has funding to study it.
Or first found it. Because my first initial doctor who found my pre-cancer and my cancer, they immediately had to keep talking to my oncologist and even like, oh, is it hormone receptive positive? Like, let me think. Well, I don't remember everything 10 years ago on some things. So for me to have all that, so when I have the doctors this time, oh, did you have a reaction to Ativan? How was your anesthesiologist? All that little minutia just in one spot.
Yep.
That for me would be, I'll take it now. Yeah. Invaluable. This is really helpful. Yeah.
Well, part of that were, with the questions and stuff like that. These are, well, as you can see, it's like treatment options based on your current personal profile.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to build that profile in there so that it keeps all the data about your diagnosis and everything, and what you've been using for drugs and things like that, and just to try and build a whole record around that. And then your interactions with your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about last time we could record these things and send the messages up to the cloud. So everything would be cloud-based. I'm thinking, hopefully.
And also video, like, can you not just record it, like if you,
that's on the roadmap.
Okay.
Further out.
Because like if you want to do a snapshot of something, or you want to take a photo of yourself, or
or take pictures of your medicine.
Because it sounds so. I know a lot of it's about just the cancer, but one thing everyone experiences, and they say that coming here, and I know for me, you have to get a ride to a lot of your treatments. Like you can't drive yourself home after chemotherapy. Not that I want you to join up with Uber or anything on one app, but maybe there's another program where, you know, some people go alone and then they want to go outside and go, God, no, if you don't want to call Uber, maybe there's like a
Ride share.
that's just for this, maybe those kind of outside sources as well. And also, I want to get in the, like my neighbor always took me, and it was an hour and a half away from Santa Monica. So, you know, what's the best route? And I couldn't even give directions every time because sometimes you're asleep on the way there or home, or you're just laying back in pain or quiet that you want to just hand. I mean, of course, you could do a Google, like I don't have the map thing on my phone, but having this, where do you park? You know, this is where the doctor, this is his hours, this is his number. Because if I'm asleep, she might have to call the doctor. Hey, we're running late, you know. So there's all, it's not just your cancer, there's so many other little things. What are you allergic to? Did you want to stop at the store on the way home and get something for nausea? You know, there's all these other things that could be put in there that is that's really helpful.
It's all great.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
With the notes that you're talking about for the first time, the second time, are they like paper all over the place? Do you have a folder?
I have, well, no, now everything's all in just one file. I have.
One file, like paper copy or on the computer?
There's a little bit of both, but mostly paper, especially the first time,
Okay.
because that was 12 years ago. This time I have a lot less that's paper, and a lot more, my plastic surgeon's all, like he records and he does a lot of photos.
Okay. Because in this next version, we actually have a place in the app where we have a personalized folder where we allow you to put all the information.
Oh,
into one
interesting.
section. And then in the future, as Will was saying, we're going to connect it to the EMR, so hopefully you can just press the button.
And it all downloads. And then is this always the size?
What would you like?
I think it would have to be at least the size, at least that, but probably a pad.
We're on an iPad already,
Okay.
but what we're looking at is in terms of reach and users, we want to be like, if you look at the sheer numbers, there's about 250 million iPads sold.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a huge number. 700 million iPhones sold.
Right.
So, you know, and
So
then,
pretty much on your phone.
Yeah, phone.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be available on both.
Okay, it's wherever
So-
you want to put it, person individually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if you want to download the app and have it on an iPad, all the more power to you. But iPad is generally looked at as kind of a high-end, more of a luxury thing that you use in tandem more with at home, you know, with the TV, or you know, you're busy listening and or you're browsing something because you saw something on TV. It's not, a lot of people don't take the iPad with them. So the idea was, okay, well, everybody grabs their phone
Right.
before they go out the door.
Yeah, I think it's though for this, when I think about it more, I'd like the bigger visual, because you are end up looking at a lot of photos.
Yep.
And maybe you're going to chat with someone else, another cancer patient or your doctor on this. I don't know if that's an option
No,
too.
that's definitely an option.
Live chats and stuff, because then it does seem really small. Like right now, if I'm, you know, or especially if you're, I know this sounds weird, if you're trying to show someone else a photo of yourself, or like, oh, look at the scar. Like I had a horrible infection, dissected cancer. And when I went physically to see him, he had to draw with a Sharpie all the way around. So that's how you can tell if the red is getting outside the line or shrinking. So I'd Skype with him. So it's almost one of those, like, it's handy to be able to turn it around and show like, oh, it's, you know, I have an infection, or a dentist, or whatever physically you're doing, and that's pretty small to do that with. Do you know what I mean? So I think in your case, maybe there'd be a sore and sale of iPads. Maybe.
I hope so.
I know.
We also have webcam,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
where you can do internet webcam.
Nice. Okay. All right.
I'll have you look at a couple other things just to get some feedback.
Okay.
Oh, it says it's there, but it's not there. Oh, you evil thing.
Mhm.
All right, it's not there. I think we covered everything. Do you have any questions? Any suggestions? Any other feedback?
I think from last time and this time, because you are going to have it record,
Mm.
and you can take video, connect with other people that are going through it. Like you're going to have, you can do it online. So once you have this app and you make other changes, do you have to, they come to you automatically, or you have to like re-download the app again, or like every time Skype updates, you have to, or new version of this or that. Like how complicated is it going to be?
Set that up to do auto updates,
Okay.
where it just pulls it and then you tap it and it's fine. Or a lot of people will set things up manually, and that's where it gets a little bit more involved. So there's actually settings where you can go into the settings and in your phone and program that in, or not really program that, but
Right.
you like click, I want auto updates.
Okay.
It's that simple.
And then all your stuff is, no matter what, it's saved and it's private. There's like secure. Okay.
Yeah. So like right in the beginning,
because people put a
where you
lot of
logged
personal
in.
information.
Yeah.
Okay.
The original app wasn't, security was like a 4-digit code.
Okay.
This, we've now built a platform that houses a series of applications. So it's like real serious code, real serious platform stuff. So basically you're logging into the platform, creating a profile in the platform, and then you can add a whole variety of apps. So you can add, we have another app, it's called Calio, which tracks nutrition, calories, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Exercise and your nutrition. So you tell it if you're, hey, I didn't get enough vitamin D today, that's important to cancer treatment, stuff like that. So you basically, you'll onboard to the platform and you'll have access just by adding the other apps. You won't have to create multiple profiles and things like that.
Oh, got it. And if you want to, you're going into surgery or you're going to not be available for a few days, if everybody, I suppose if your sister, your doctor, whoever has the password, they can update things or they can get into it as well.
Yeah. So right in the beginning, there was I'm a patient, I'm a guardian, I'm a supporter, a caretaker. So you can connect your family and friends into the app. So it's sort of almost like a medical Facebook in that sense.
Right.
And you could post and say, hey, I don't want to hear from anybody today. I feel really crappy, but I'm okay. You can send a post out. You only have to do it from one. Because there was one woman, I forget her name, but she said her first month after diagnosis, she spent $800 on cell phone bills.
Right.
And that was just stunning.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things we took that to heart when we heard that feedback. We're like, okay, we really need to ratchet this up and move it forward and put this in now and basically set it up so that you can connect your friends and family and even connect to Facebook if you wanted to message on Facebook. But use the app to communicate one message out, broadcast, like, I feel really crappy, don't contact me today.
But someone else could even do that for you if they have the password. You have to have that to get into it.
So the different account types, the patient, the guardian, how we've designed it is the patient can select one guardian to kind of buddy up. They would have access to everything. They would have their own sign-in, their own platform profile and everything. But they would be able to post on your behalf, navigate, see all the treatment, all the knowledge library aspects.
And you can limit it too, though, just like Facebook, to whatever.
Yes. Okay. But then the caregivers, they would have secondary security, so they wouldn't be able to see everything. Post on your behalf. Supporters, even less security. And you and the guardian would be able to decide what the securities are. You have to be layers set up. And with the Facebook aspect, we were wondering, would you even want to share it on Facebook, or would you want to keep it completely separate?
I don't have any of this on Facebook.
It's such an odd thing. Like my sister-in-law just literally went through a double mastectomy. Her sister also has been battling breast cancer for several years. She was all over Facebook.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
Everything all over Facebook. And to me, I was just like, okay, you know.
I know that's like a whole
anything
nother Oprah, isn't it now? But
Yeah.
I think it really has to do with what people and how people use Facebook prior to
Mhm.
cancer, prior to diabetes, prior to a divorce. You either share every single stinking thing on there or you kind of don't. There's not, to me, a lot of gray area. Some people really desperately want you to know they're going to Whole Foods in 10 minutes to get some almonds.
Mhm.
I could get about that.
Mhm.
And I just think for cancer and someone had a baby, like those are so, even death, like when someone lost their mom, a friend of mine, it was like every 10 minutes on Facebook about it. It's like, it's nothing sacred. So I'm just not, to me, it's so private. And I guess it's the same thing with your app. It's out there. Even if I delete all this, it's still in cyberspace somewhere.
Ours, not really. It's local on our servers, on our platform.
Okay.
It's not on the web. It's
Whereas
in our
Facebook,
cloud.
you can erase it, but it's still there. It's somehow, those
Yeah, I mean,
kids in Mexico with the bottle, then all of a sudden, 10 years later, they're trying to get a job. And, oh, what's this? Oh,
yeah.
Watching porn in Mexico or whatever, So I'm a little leery of Facebook, and not that yours is in that family, but, there is a certain amount of privacy you really have to have, because if anybody does get into any of this, whether it's Facebook or somewhere else, and you're at work and a lot of people don't want to know other people to know you had cancer. Is someone going to hire me? Is someone going to think, oh, she's in a bad mood because she's had cancer 10 years ago? So there's a lot of it you don't want people to know, and you don't want to always revisit it yourself every 5 minutes anyway. Mm-hmm. So Facebook, to me, it's like you can find the feeds from 7 years ago or 7 minutes ago, and it can be different now or a better outcome. So it's tricky with that. Would be part of my thought process or hesitation is like, how private is this really?
Ours is super private.
Okay.
But and even if you did connect into Facebook, you're not sharing out into the world. It would be more like we're pulling in your friends that you deem people that you want to share this information with.
And then when it's like unfriending them, want to unshare with them.
Sure.
If you want to unshare with them, you have to back them all out of it too. Let's say you change your caretaker person.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And definitely, that could totally happen.
And then on their end, you just have to change your password, and then they can't get into any of it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's right.
But all that other information they could have snapshot and put on another device. Right? So I have a caretaker that's hooked up to this, a doctor's assistant, an intern. There could be 20 people hooked up to mine if I allowed them.
Yes.
Then if I disallow them, from that moment on, they can't see it. But all those times prior, where is all that stored? Is that still in their memory?
No, cloud. So it's basically if you shut them out, they're detached from your account. They can no longer see anything.
Correct.
Related.
What about
not old stuff?
Nothing. Could they though have, while you were still connected with them, download some of it or move it or put it into another place or another portal or whatever?
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? You get it, like.
Yes. Okay. I mean, technically, I could take a screenshot of something without even downloading anything.
And then just save it and put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you just have to be really careful about who you're going to allow and make sure that is part of your cancer plan. Mm-hmm. Not that has happened or anything, but that's a lot of people out there eventually. Like a doctor has it, but there's 3 people behind him looking at it all too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But they could get that anywhere, I suppose, too.
Yeah, well, they would have it in paper records.
Mhm. Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Because most people who have all that information, you're not going to have an out with. You're not going to have a problem with. It's much different than Facebook. People friending, unfriending all the time.
Yep.
You're on
Oh, yeah.
nerves, but yeah,
Yep.
this is way different.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Just a personal story. My son had a brain tumor, and you know, we argued and battled with doctors and whatnot, and went through a whole thing, and we ended up going a totally different route than what was suggested. And the tumor went away,
Oh, wow.
gone. And they've written papers about him and things like that. And so we walk into the office and people are like, your son's famous. He's a legend and all these things. And they say all these things. We're like, what do you mean you wrote a paper? Who wrote the paper? Who gave you permission to write a paper?
Right.
And his MRIs are all over the web now, you know,
Interesting.
and things like that. So, I mean, his name's not attached to the pictures, you know.
Right.
So you go to PubMed and look for, you know, spontaneous chiasmal glioma or massive, literally it's a massive in the title of the article.
Disappeared overnight. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
14 months. But I know exactly what you're talking about,
Right.
because it's like we walk in and there's nurses that we've never seen before that know all about him and tell us, oh yeah, you know, the star's here.
Yeah.
The famous one's here today.
Yeah, and
We're so excited to
well,
see
with
him.
photos, it's similar because when the second time I had cancer, I see him like, oh my God, you still have that? And they're showing hundreds of other women, and most of them are all from here, but it is a little like, ooh, at first, that's me, and I have not a shirt on, you know.
Yep.
But I looked at tons of women when I went through too, and it's helpful. So it's therapeutic, but at first you're like, oh, that's really exposing, but yeah.
I think they think it's abstract because you're.
Yeah, but you're still here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, that's my belly button.
Yeah, that's me. Anyway, can't think of any other questions. So since you've come the first time, you've just added and developed it and taken it to other levels now.
We're slowly moving it forward and building it out, and this is the core that we're moving forward with and trying to shoehorn it into mobile. We want to get
adding the social features we talked about, which everybody wanted to connect with their family and friends
Mhm.
virtually, rather than taking a million calls, just one place where you can provide an update or a journal entry even.
Mhm.
And also what you guys mentioned, things to help you with your day-to-day, how to shape your head, how
Right.
to communicate in the workplace, all that stuff. So we've gathered resources to help the Journey app,
Cool.
which is not covered in the wireframe.
Yeah,
This one
not
is
in there yet.
focusing on what we covered last time, which you've already seen before, the different treatment types,
Mhm.
and seeing how taking from a large screen to a smaller screen, font sizes, flow,
Oh, right,
how
just
it
the
affects everything.
nuts and bolts. Yeah, and the one thing when I mentioned about like directions and maps, there are so many sources out there, but because you do go to the same places all the time, I had to go once a week to my plastic surgeon. I have to go every 3 weeks to my oncologist. They're repetitive places, but between chemo fog and being overwhelmed or maybe crying or not paying attention, seriously, I went there for months and I still sometimes would get lost going to the plastic surgeon.
Tell me about chemo fog.
Ugh. Yeah, you just don't. It's nothing else I can really compare it to. Not that I'm a big partier, but as drunk as I've ever been, it's not even the same feeling. You're just completely. It's just so redundant to say, but you're just so spaced out where you feel like you're staring at the word B, but is it a B or is it a D? Like you can't really keep up your thought process to what you're looking at and just the effort of even talking sometimes. So, you know, when you're and everything's so bright when you go through chemo that even outside it feels like painful. So if you're in a car and you're trying to give someone directions and you're on the 405 and it's a Friday and it's bright lights, a lot of noise, whatever it is about chemo noise, and you get really sensitive to light and noise. So you just kind of keep on glasses, and it just feels so bright that you don't want to look around, and it's like oversensory. So I experience that anyway. So in a car, it's even more so because you maybe are a little nauseous and you're too hot, too cold. Turn on the air conditioning, turn it off. So it just feels like it would be handy to be able to hand this to someone, and it just tells you where we're going, where to park, who to check in with when you get there, instead of you having to say anything or do anything. You just want to kind of show up and get out of the car and get in
Your
there.
own
You know?
personal medical assistant.
Yeah. And, sometimes people are coming in from out of state to help you, like your family. If they don't live here, they don't know what the traffic's like at 3:30 on 405. They don't know how to get, where's the nearest Starbucks, or how do we get home from here? So that kind of stuff. And when you were saying like where to shave your head, post-op, there's so many little things that no one tells you that you discover yourself, and then you can put it in here and then share that with other people or your family. 3 pillows on the way home, to prop up. People forget that. Just all those little, you can't put a shirt over your head and somebody hands you a t-shirt. I can't get into a t-shirt. So there's just a lot of that pre and post, whether that's emotional support, physical limits, there's just so much little information that seems little to some people, but are really helpful. Ginger chews at Trader Joe's. So your stomach, just all these little.
And it's different for everybody. Right?
Exactly. I mean, there's definitely some common threads. Getting mastectomy, so you can't lift this arm over your shoulder height for 6 months. I mean, there's a lot of that that's all the same that you could remind people about, or you can't lift more than 5 pounds in one hand, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Can't think of anything else right now, anyway.
It was fabulous.
Thank you very, very much for coming back.
You're welcome.